The moment you realize your life's about to flip on its head, it doesn't come with a warning. No. It hits you like a ton of bricks during what's supposed to be a picture-perfect scene straight out of those cheesy romance flicks. There we were, me and Sarah, celebrating our second year of marriage in our little slice of heaven. A cozy apartment overlooking the sea in a quaint coastal town. It was early spring 2018, the air filled with the promise of new beginnings. Our home was a shrine to our adventures, walls decked with photos capturing our laughter and love. Life seemed pretty damn perfect. I'm Mark, by the way, a software engineer who could code his way out of anything, except, apparently, marital bliss. Sarah, my better half, was the creative genius in the relationship, her graphic design skills as vibrant as her personality. Despite the late nights I spent wrestling with code, we made it a point to keep our connection alive. Breakfasts with views of the ocean, evening wind downs with a good book or a glass of wine. These were our rituals, our ways of saying, I'm here for you. Our careers were on the fast track, too. Attending each other's launches, celebrating every milestone, we were each other's biggest cheerleaders. And it wasn't just about us. Our social life was buzzing. Dinner parties at ours were legendary, our friends often saying we were couple goals. Deep down, I knew it was all built on a foundation of trust and those endless conversations about the future we dreamed of together. 2019 brought a new addition to our family, Max, a golden retriever with a heart as big as his appetite. Suddenly, our weekends were all about beach walks and picnics, the three of us a tight-knit crew. But as the year wore on, Sarah's job took her away more often. Her promotion meant longer hours, more travel. Sure, I was proud, but damn, did I miss her. So, I dove headfirst into a new project, hoping to bridge the growing distance between us. Then came 2020, and with it, whispers that would have sounded like a bad joke if they weren't about my Sarah. Rumors linked her name romantically with Alex, her boss. Charismatic, sure, but no match for Sarah, or so I thought. I brushed off those whispers, refusing to believe them. Trust was our thing, after all. But doubts have a way of creeping up on you. For our third anniversary, I planned a surprise getaway, thinking some alone time would do us good. Yet, there she was, distant, her thoughts miles away. Work stress, she said. But the pieces weren't adding up. Sitting on that beach, watching the sunset, I realized something had changed. The vibrant woman I married seemed lost in a sea of her own worries, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't reach her. The distance between us felt more than just physical. It was as if we were on separate islands, shouting across the waters but never quite connecting. I knew I had to do something, anything, to bridge that gap. But as the ocean roared in the background, mirroring the turmoil inside me, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing on the edge of a cliff. And the next step? Well, it was a plunge into the unknown. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you do, please take a moment to hit that like button. It really helps me out and lets me know you appreciate the content. Imagine this. You're scrolling through your phone, just killing time, when a notification pops up. Curiosity wins, you open it, and bam, your whole world goes off kilter. That was me, Mark, one chilly November evening, finding texts between my wife, Sarah, and her boss, Alex, that were anything but work-related. It felt like a punch to the gut, the kind that knocks the wind right out of you. I confronted Sarah, heart pounding, hands shaking. Her tears came fast, apologies tumbling out between sobs. She was confused, she said, it was a mistake. Part of me wanted to scream, to rage against the betrayal. But another part, the part that remembered all the good times, couldn't let go. I believed, no, I needed to believe, we could fix this. So, we dove headfirst into couples therapy, thinking maybe, just maybe, we could untangle this mess. Those sessions, man, they were brutal. Raw emotions spilled out, secrets unearthed, and every session ended with us emotionally drained. Yet, through that storm of hurt and anger, there was this tiny flicker of hope that we could find our way back to each other. As 2021 rolled around, though, the weight of everything started to really show. Sarah pulled away, becoming more of a stranger than my wife. She swore she cut ties with Alex, but the seed of doubt had taken root in my mind, growing with every unexplained late night, every vague excuse. I wasn't ready to give up, not yet. I started planning surprise dates, trying to rekindle that spark we used to have. It felt like I was fighting an uphill battle, pouring my heart into making us work, but getting little in return. Our shared interests, our inside jokes, they all felt like echoes of a past too far gone to reach. Then came the night that changed everything. Sarah's late nights had become the norm, but this time, something felt off. I followed her, a knot of dread in my stomach. And there they were, Sarah and Alex, at some cozy little restaurant, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. It was like watching a scene from someone else's life, not mine. My heart didn't just break, it shattered. Seeing them together, so intimate, so carefree, it was a wake-up call. All those therapy sessions, the promises of change, the attempts to rebuild, none of it mattered. The betrayal wasn't just a one-time mistake, it was a choice, one Sarah kept making. I stood there, outside that restaurant, feeling like the biggest fool. The trust we'd built, the love I thought was unshakable, it was all a lie. And in that moment, I knew there was no going back. The life we had, the future we'd planned, it was all just a mirage, disappearing before my very eyes. Confronting Sarah wasn't just about airing my grievances or seeking some sort of closure. It was an acknowledgement of the harsh truth that had been staring me in the face all along. Our marriage, built on years of love and dreams, had crumbled, and there was no salvaging the ruins. The moment I saw those texts, I knew our world was about to implode. It wasn't just the shock of betrayal, it was the sheer disbelief that our life together could unravel so quickly. Confronting Sarah wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. My hands shook as I held up my phone, the evidence glaring back at us both. How could you? The words barely made it out before the floodgates opened. Sarah's tears, her apologies, they filled the room, but it was like watching a scene from someone else's life. The hurt was too deep, the betrayal too sharp. Nothing she said could stitch the gaping wound her actions had left. Divorce. The word hung between us, heavy and final. Starting the proceedings felt like walking through a fog, each step taking us further from the life we had built together. Friends and family, once shared so freely between us, now took sides, their whispers echoing the cold reality we were living. Our warm, laughter-filled life had turned into a battleground of hurt feelings and legal documents. Leaving our apartment was like leaving behind a piece of my soul. Each box I packed was a memory, a moment in time that we'd never get back. I tried to steel myself against the pain, but each item I touched, a photo, a piece of clothing, even a silly souvenir from one of our trips, felt like another nail in the coffin of our marriage. Work became my refuge, the one place where I could drown out the noise of my crumbling personal life. My colleagues, unaware of the depth of my turmoil, offered superficial comforts, but my social circle quickly shrank. Trust, once given so freely, now felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. I became a ghost of my former self, going through the motions but never really present. Then came the emails from Sarah. Long, rambling apologies filled with regret and promises of change. I couldn't bring myself to respond. Each word was a reminder of what we had lost, and silence became my shield, protecting me from the pain of her betrayal. Months passed in a blur of work and solitude. The sharp edges of my hurt dulled over time, but the ache of loss lingered, a constant companion in my now solitary life. I threw myself into new projects, sought solace in the routine of daily tasks, but the void Sarah left was palpable. The day I heard about Sarah and Alex's engagement was a punch to the gut. Not because I still held out hope for us, but because it underscored the finality of our split. The rumors, once whispers in the wind, were now screaming headlines in my personal saga. It was the closure I never wanted but knew deep down was inevitable. Some wounds, I realized, run too deep to ever fully heal. The path forward was mine to walk alone, a journey of rediscovery and healing that I was only just beginning to embark on. The ghost of what we had would always haunt me, but I was slowly learning to live with the echoes of our past, finding strength in the solitude that had once been my greatest fear. The day I bagged that promotion, you'd think I'd have been on top of the world. But there I was, standing in my too quiet apartment, the echo of my solo cheers bouncing off the walls, and it hit me. Success felt hollow without Sarah to share it with. My professional life was soaring, sure, but personally, I was a mess. Every award, every nod of approval from my peers, it was like applause in an empty theater. Cold comfort when the one person you want clapping is gone. Then came the game changer. A new project, a big one, with a catch, it meant relocating. A fresh start, or so I thought. Packing up wasn't just about moving my stuff, it was about trying to outrun ghosts. Sarah's memory haunted every corner of our city, So I jumped at the chance to leave, to maybe, finally, leave the pain behind too. Landing in a new city, I hit the ground running. Work was my anchor, and I threw myself into it with everything I had. New faces became friends, new challenges sparked excitement. I was building a life, brick by brick, on new ground. But the loneliness? It clung to me, a shadow I couldn't shake. Every new connection was laced with caution, the fear of history repeating itself making me second-guess every word, every gesture. One idle evening, curiosity, or maybe it was masochism, led me to Sarah's social media. There she was, her life with Alex sprawled out in vibrant, digital color. Smiles, trips, the kind of joy that punches you in the gut when it's no longer yours to share. Seeing her so happy, it was like someone took a sledgehammer to the fragile foundation I'd been building. That night, the darkness was relentless. I spiraled, all the progress I thought I'd made in moving on evaporated. My work suffered, my focus was shot. I realized then that changing cities was just geography. My past, our past, wasn't something I could just pack away. It was part of me, a shadow that followed no matter how far I ran. I needed closure, something to mark the end of this chapter. So, I wrote Sarah a letter. Every word was raw, a mix of pain, betrayal, and the remnants of love that lingered despite everything. It was the most honest thing I'd ever written, but as I sealed the envelope, I knew I'd never send it. The act of writing it was enough, a private farewell to the life we shared, to the future we'd planned. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start, a small step toward healing, toward accepting that some wounds would always sting, but maybe, just maybe, I could learn to live with them. The day I laced up those old running shoes buried at the back of my closet, I didn't know I was starting more than just a morning routine. It was like I was running away from my problems, sure, but with every pounding step on the pavement, it felt like I was also running towards something. A piece of the old me, maybe. The guy who laughed more, who saw the world in colors rather than just shades of gray. Then, there was Emma. She happened into my life as unexpectedly as a rain shower on a clear day. I met her at this little cafe I started frequenting post-run. She was scribbling away in a notebook, lost in her own world. One day, my usual clumsy self knocked over her coffee as I passed. Instead of the scowl I braced for, she just laughed it off. That laugh, it was like a lifeline thrown into the turbulent sea I'd been drowning in. Emma, with her easy smile and patient ears, became a friend. Someone who didn't know the baggage I carried or the scars I hid. She was like a breath of fresh air in a room I didn't realize was suffocating me. For the first time in forever, I felt hope, a dangerous thing for a heart as bruised as mine. But old fears die hard. The closer Emma and I got, the louder the ghosts of my past became. It was like they were determined to remind me of every mistake, every moment of pain. My insecurities crept in, turning moments of potential happiness into minefields. I started to pull away, afraid of what might happen if I let someone in again. Realizing I was on the brink of sabotaging something good, something possibly great, I made the call to seek professional help. Sitting in that therapist's office, spilling my guts to a stranger, was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But with each session, I started to understand the depth of my wounds, the root of my fears. It was a rough road, filled with more tears and soul searching than I care to admit. Armed with this newfound insight, I took a leap of faith. I opened up to Emma, laid all my cards on the table, my past, my pain, my fears, and my dreams. It was a gamble, showing her the not-so-pretty parts of me. But Emma, she didn't run. She listened, really listened, and in her eyes, I didn't see pity or horror. I saw understanding and a kind of acceptance I hadn't known I was craving. Our bond, already strong from shared laughs and coffee dates, deepened into something more profound. It was built on the solid foundation of honesty and vulnerability. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly connected to someone, not just playing a part. Emma's presence in my life, it was like a beacon guiding me through the fog. With her, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could find my way out of the darkness and into a future where happiness wasn't just a fleeting memory. Right when I thought my life was getting its color back, thanks to Emma, I found myself standing on the edge of something new and terrifying, hope. Emma's belief in me, her unwavering support, it did more than just mend old wounds, it sparked something in me I thought was long dead. Motivated by our endless conversations, filled with what-ifs and dreams of a future together, I took the plunge and started my own thing. a little tech startup that was all about making the world a bit more connected. Risky? Sure. But with Emma, risks felt like opportunities. And would you believe it? The business took off. It was like everything I touched turned to gold, but I knew the real magic was Emma. Her faith in me, her insights, and just her presence turned my pipe dreams into a thriving reality. She wasn't just my muse. She was my partner in every sense, standing by me through late nights, pitch meetings, and all the ups and downs of startup life. So, I did what any man utterly in love and terrified of losing the best thing that ever happened to him would do. I asked her to marry me. No grand gestures or flashy rings, just a simple question, posed over a homemade dinner. It was real, raw, and utterly us. Emma's yes wasn't just an agreement to marry me. It was a promise of new beginnings, a future I once thought I'd lost the right to dream about. Planning our life together, I found a peace I hadn't known in years. The shadows of my past, the pain of my marriage with Sarah, it all began to fade into the background, overshadowed by the brightness of my future with Emma. It felt like I was finally turning the page, ready to start a new chapter. But life has a way of reminding you that the past isn't easily forgotten. As the wedding drew closer, the old fears, the scars left by my failed marriage, they all started creeping back. It wasn't Emma, it was me, haunted by the ghosts of what had been. Then came the moment that threatened to unravel everything we'd built. I found Emma talking to an old friend. Innocent, right? Except, in my head, it was anything but. Old insecurities flared up, and before I knew it, we were in the middle of our first real fight. The words I threw at her, doubts and accusations, they were echoes of my past, not reflections of the woman in front of me. Emma's heartbreak was palpable. She stood there, a mix of confusion and sorrow, as I laid bare all my unresolved issues. The trust we'd nurtured, the bond we'd cherished, it all hung in the balance, threatened by my inability to let go of the past. That night, the silence between us was a chasm filled with the unsaid and the unresolved. Emma, with tears in her eyes, questioned our future. Is this what our life will be? You doubting us at every turn? Her words hit me harder than any argument we'd ever had. It wasn't just about an old friend or a casual chat. It was about whether I could truly leave my past behind and trust in the love we had. Sitting there, facing the possibility of losing Emma, I realized the depth of my fear. It wasn't losing her to someone else that scared me. It was the thought of being the reason our future together crumbled. The specter of my past with Sarah wasn't just fading. It was fighting back, demanding to be confronted if I ever hoped to move forward. The night everything nearly fell apart, when the shadows of my past loomed too large, I hit rock bottom. That's when clarity struck, like a bolt out of the blue. It was either lose Emma because of ghosts she had no part in creating or fight like hell to keep her. I chose to fight. Emma, I'm so sorry, I said, my voice barely a whisper, choked with the realization of what I'd almost done. I know I've messed up, letting my past dictate our future. I promise you, I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, to fix us. Emma, bless her, saw the sincerity in my eyes. She was hurt, understandably, and wary, but she wasn't ready to give up on us either. Let's take a step back, she suggested, her voice steady but soft. We need to rebuild from the ground up, Mark. No wedding, not yet. We work on us first. It was a lifeline, and I grabbed it with both hands. My commitment to therapy went from half-hearted to all in. If there was a way to exorcise the demons of my past, to ensure they didn't poison my present and future with Emma, I was going to find it. Session after session, I dug deep, unearthing insecurities and fears I didn't even know I had. It was grueling, emotionally exhausting work, but with each revelation, I felt a little lighter, a bit more hopeful. As I worked on myself, the dynamic between Emma and me started to shift. Trust, once fractured, began to mend. Our relationship, tested by storms, grew stronger, roots deepening. We found joy in the simple things again, laughing more, arguing less. It was as if we were discovering each other all over again, but this time, with a foundation built on mutual understanding and resilience. When we finally rescheduled the wedding, it was with a sense of calm certainty. Gone were the grand plans of before, replaced by the desire for a ceremony that was truly us, intimate, genuine, surrounded by those who had stood by us through thick and thin. That sunny spring day, as we exchanged vows, the weight of our journey was palpable, but so was the love that had carried us through. It was a celebration not just of a union, but of overcoming, of healing. Dancing under the stars that evening, I held Emma close, overwhelmed by gratitude. Thank you, I murmured into her hair, for seeing the man I could be, even when I couldn't. She looked up at me, eyes shining, and in that moment, I knew we were embarking on a future where honesty, trust, and openness were not just ideals, but the very foundation of our life together. Yet, even in the midst of that joy, I understood that the journey wasn't over. The scars from my past would always be a part of me, a reminder of the road traveled and the lessons learned. But as I looked into Emma's eyes, I knew I was ready to embrace that journey, with her by my side. Healing wasn't a destination. It was a path we'd walk together, step by step, day by day. And that was okay because, with Emma, I had found my way.